What's going on? We're talking about the best baits for March. We are a little late. It is the 8th, but you know, we're in the Midwest, we're in the Northern Hemisphere. It's still cold. So it took a little bit of time to kind of break down what I wanted to talk about because March, you can catch them anywhere doing anything. You know, they're still out shallow in their winter patterns. They're pulling up on points on the channel swings, getting ready to move back in the pockets. They're on secondary points in the pockets. They're all the way back on the flats. March is great. Primarily a power fishing month for me personally, but March is great. You can catch them on almost any lure that you can think of. You want to throw a Ned bait or a jig up shallow, go for it. You want to throw an Alabama rig out deep, go for it. You want to throw a deep diving crankbait out on their winter points, go for it. But we're going to primarily focus on these baits that I have picked out. Now, I want to start this off saying I'm always going to have a jig tied on. You guys know that. You can also throw a Texas rig if you really feel like they're up there. But if you're anywhere around me, they are not. It's too cold. They're not there yet. I'm always going to have some kind of minnow tied on, whether it's Crush City Mooch Minnow, Crush City Freeloader, or the Mayor, also from Crush City. We're going to throw a lot of Crush City this year. You also can't go wrong with the Bass Reaper, Contagion, or anything like that either. But let's get into what I picked out for you. First up, glide bait. Now, not just any glide bait. Go get the Clutch Swim Bait Eco. This thing is fantastic, and you don't need a special rod to throw it on. I throw it on a 7.6 heavy, like 20-pound fluoro. This thing catches giants. You can reel it slow, you can chop it. However you want to fish it, you can fish it. This thing is great. Also, shout out this color. Shout out Josh over at Clutch Swim Bait Co. These things are awesome and under $100. Shout out Vector Hooks for the Tornado Trebles. I run Tornado Trebles on all of my hard baits. They should be under new ownership here soon, so be watching for the website to come back. Now, I'm going to go with glide baits on the same realm of swim baits, but a little more forgotten. Just a little paddle tail. You know, this is a baby bass color, or just a bass in general, I guess. But a paddle tail swim bait. These are great. You can throw them on a under belly weighted hook, or I'm throwing them on the VMC hybrid swim bait hooks. That's probably my favorite way to throw them. But these are just as versatile, if not more versatile, and they're often forgotten about. It's not something people throw much anymore, but still sticking with swim baits. Paddle tail swim bait. 4 to 6 inch swim bait is what I'm throwing for March. You can go bigger, but I wouldn't until the summer. Right now I'm sticking around the 4 to 6 inches, give or take. Now, next up, we're looking at the old lipless, old shad wrap, whatever you want to call it, lipless crankbait. Obviously, the shad color with the red belly. You can, the red crawl color is a killer this time of year, but bluegill color, shad color, red crawl are kind of three that I would stick to. Maybe a bass color, because they might be finding some bass garden fry, but with this crankbait. Now, I don't reel this lure very often. Normally, I'm throwing it, I'm letting it sink, and then I'm ripping it up, and then letting it sink, and then ripping it up, and letting it sink. Half ounce, usually, throwing half ounce. I'm going to throw this on like a 7.2 medium heavy cranking rod, like 12-pound fluoro. And speaking of cranking rods, a shallow water crankbait. I don't know exactly. I think this is a Guggen, but I could be wrong. But anything from like 0 to 6 feet, it's like a DT6, anything like that. The Strike Kings, I think it's like a 3XD is right around that same depth range, but just a shallow water crankbait, And I'm throwing that on the same crankbait rod, a 7.2 medium heavy. I throw this on like 12-pound fluoro, maybe 15, but usually 12. And then for the square bill, you really want to focus on like banging this thing off a structure, whether it's rocks or laydowns or trees, whatever structure that you guys really have. But you can't go wrong with square bill or a shallow water crankbait. I say square bill, but really I mean anything 0 to 6 foot. I have anywhere from 0 to 2 down to 4 to 6, whatever. You can go a little deeper if you want, but I would stay right around that 6 foot. So you really want to run this thing into the side of the laydowns, into rocks, you know, you get a good transition from sand or clay to rock bank. That's a good spot to look for them. But shallow water crankbait. And then next up on the list, if the water's a little muddier, the old spinnerbait. Now, the important thing about the spinnerbait this time of year is this orange or red kicker blade. Okay, I don't know what it is about these things that just catch more fish. As you guys can tell, this thing is beat up. Paint's missing, chipped off. The wire's bent. I don't know if you can tell that or not, but here you go. The wire's bent. This is the Accent Spring Ding. This thing has caught me a bunch of giants. Got a paddle tail swim bait on the back. Throw whatever you want on the back. I'm probably going to throw a lot more freeloaders this year for a trailer. Sometimes I'll take the trailer off if they want a little more finesse style swim bait or spinner bait. But again, same concept as a square bill. You really want to throw this thing when the water's a little dirtier, you know, stained, a little muddy, and you want to be smashing this thing off structure, whether it's docks or laydowns or stumps or whatever. This thing comes through wood exceptionally well. Exceptionally well. I'm throwing this on a 6.8 medium heavy. 6.8 just lets me be a little more accurate. And then, you know, I'm not sacrificing too much distance. Shout out 6Gill with their reels and rods. I'm throwing this on a 6Gill chopper. So, probably one of my favorite rods. Anyways, it's not a rod video. Spinnerbait. Can't go wrong with spinnerbait. And then, you know, like I said, if you're throwing around docks, you really want to make sure you're banging it off the pilings of the docks, and then any sumps that are up underneath in the backs of docks. Laydowns, you really want to be banging it off like the tree limbs and the laydown itself. It just generates a lot of bites this time of year, especially when the water is a little muddy. And lastly but not least, when the water's warming up and you get into that 55, 60 degree water, you know, when bass are finally pulled up and they're finally spawning, and you got females looking for beds, you got males guarding fry, you got all kinds of fish just up shallow. Prop bait. I don't know exactly what company this is off the top of my head, but again, shout out Vector Hooks. They got the trebles with the feathers. Just a little more attention. I'm throwing this on a 7.3 medium heavy. Hey, what's up guys? I just watched the video back. I was doing the editing and realized the microphone died. So the prop bait we're throwing on 30-pound braid, back in the deep flats. If you guys want to see on C-maps, on like a contour map where I'm throwing all these baits, leave me a comment down below. But I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next one.